Welcome to Leadership Beyond Burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, also known as Dr. Burnout. This show focuses on emerging women leaders and women leaders. Today, I'd like to introduce to you TRANG NOVA. She is a mentor and speaker for women who are hungry to pivot their careers and build their dream business so that they can live out their potential and purpose with freedom and fulfillment. Trang was a former physiotherapist who simultaneously ran a running and strength coaching business. Now, in her mid 20s, she experienced a quarter life crisis. This led her to leave the sports industry so that she could help women, not just athletes, but as human beings. She's the host of the Aligned Performance podcast, where she goes beyond what you've heard before to begin to help you transform from the core and express your best in this world. Now, through authentic and uplifting solo episodes and diverse guest conversations, she explores how you can discover and serve your soul's purpose. Doesn't that sound nice? Along with covering high performance, mindset, and other habits that successfully change careers and build a business. Now, Trang is determined to help others step into their greatest power and thrive in their lives of impact because ultimately she believes that when enough individuals are thriving, then humanity will thrive as well. And when humanity thrives, then the world can thrive for all forms and life and future generations. Welcome.
Kimberly, thank you so much for that introduction and thank you for having me here. I'm delighted.
Yes, I really wanted to focus on all the transformation that you bring for individuals and for women. And I'd love to hear about that quarter life crisis. Like, what was the impetus that gave you that, like, it's time to shift? Because you invested a lot of time in becoming who you were.
Yes. And what you just said, that's spot on, because the entire narrative as I was growing up, being the daughter of immigrants' parents who came from poverty, they wanted to set me up for a life of stability, security, and success.
Right.
So the narrative was to work hard, study hard, go to university, get the degree, and then I could enjoy the reward of a good life.
Right.
So as you already introduced, I graduated with my master's of physiotherapy. I was working for a few years and I thought that this was going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
Until one particular morning, something changed. So buckle in. This is a very interesting story. It's not going to be what you expect.
I'm ready.
Let's go. So this particular morning, I had gotten up to go for a run. Mm-hmm. And when I stepped out onto the sidewalk, I hear a crunch. And I'm like, what's that? What's going on? I looked down and I'd stepped on a snail. Oh. Now, this isn't the first time I'd stepped on a snail before. And I'm sure that many of you have accidentally done the same. Mm-hmm. But for some reason that morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Wow.
Like I felt guilty that by going for a run on this day at this time, just living my own life, I'd caused such an effect on something outside of me. Like in this case, I had killed something.
Right.
And this really got me thinking over the remainder of the run for the months that followed, because I started to see the bigger picture. Here I was feeling so guilty about this one snail, yet my lifestyle in so many ways was already neglecting different forms of life. Already has such an impact. Yeah, without me even realizing it, from the clothes that I was wearing, the plastic that I was using, just like the impact that I had as an individual, the footprints that I had, I'd never thought about before until now. Like it was like a veil had been taken from in front of my eyes. And I started to see all the different ways that I, as an individual, all the decisions that I make day to day without really thinking about it has a ripple of impact beyond what I would understand or what I would witness.
Right.
So this realization really opened up my eyes to how much power I have, right? Like as one individual, you know, the decisions that we make can really spread and flow on to to depths that we will not be able to witness ourselves.
Right.
Yet at the same time, I still felt so insignificant. You know,
Hmm.
I'm just one person.
Powerful and insignificant. Wow.
Exactly. I was like, uh, I'm just one person. How can I ever make that much of a difference?
Right.
So that conflict and that awareness really sent me spiraling into this quarter life crisis where I was like, okay, each day I'm going into work and I'm teaching people how to squat, to shape their booty a little bit more, or how to do this as a wrist exercise for their forearm muscles.
Right.
Yet out there, each day that goes by, there are things that are happening. There, it could be said that there is devastation. There is so many causes out there that I could be using my existence to contribute towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So then that awareness, that realization was like, was what got me questioning. Is this all I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Wow.
Like, I need to become more. I need to do more. So that realization was that quarter life crisis.
But wait a minute. Your parents must have been freaking out. Like, what do you mean? We just sent you to university. You just finished your master. What do you mean you're pivoting? I gotta hear about that conversation.
Exactly, right? And that was the whole inner, mental tug of war that I was facing because part of me wanted to explore what else was out there. But there was
Mm-hmm.
also part of me that was thinking, what are my parents going to say? What are my friends going to say? What are other people going to think of me? Are they going to judge me? Am I going to waste the 4 years that I spent at uni and the extra
Mm-hmm.
4 years that I've spent working and developing myself in this line of work? Like,
Right.
what if it doesn't work out? What if I regret this decision? There was so much fear, and
Right.
especially with the the thought process of how is this going to be received, by my
Mm,
parents.
right.
Luckily, at this point, I had actually moved out of home. So I
Oh,
was living with my partner at the time, and there was a bit of separation.
right.
There was a little bit of space.
You didn't have to
And
get all the pressure.
exactly, exactly. So that space really helped. But still, that fear was in the back of my head. And that was what caused me to sit on the fence for so long. It was about a year of that inner turmoil, you could say, that
A year?
crisis before I took action to move forward. Yeah, 1 year.
Now, now wait a minute, Trank, because I find this hard to believe with someone who motorbikes, who's in the water, who's just in the sky. How are you afraid? How are you afraid
Yeah.
of making a choice about your life when you do all this fearless stuff?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. You know why? It's because so much of what I was doing at the time, my physiotherapy,
Mhm,
the respect and the aura that came with having a university qualified profession,
mhm.
that was tied with my identity.
Okay.
And when we have this sense of self and we have this identity, it is everything.
Right.
It's who I am. Like I don't go out there and do something different. And that vision of and the expectation of what the future path looks like when we hold a certain identity is very ingrained. It's very strong. This is who I am. This is the path that I'm going to go down. This is what my future looks like.
Right.
And then, really turning that upside down is, even though it's all mental and it is conceptual, it is extremely scary.
Right.
It's what stopped me in my tracks from taking any action for a whole year.
Right.
And I'm not sure if this is something that some of the viewers or the listeners can resonate with, but it's that breaking down of everything that we know about ourselves and everything that we know about our life. Like that is scary, way scarier than hopping on a motorbike or putting on like a tank to go scuba diving in the ocean. At least for me.
Right. That's an event, not a whole life-changing trajectory.
Yes.
It's going to create something different. Let's take a commercial break and we'll continue with this conversation.
Hi everyone, I am Sinead from Brador. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
Welcome back. As I was thinking about the change of the trajectory of your whole life, was there a grieving process for you as you shifted your identity?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any time that we go through change, even when it's positive change, like I wanted this change. I knew that I wanted to step into my potential and I wanted to step into my heart's purpose to serve this world at the highest level. There was also letting go of parts of me that I had spent so long nurturing and developing. And, that was painful in its own way. Like, I think about metamorphosis when a caterpillar climbs into that cocoon.
Right.
And yeah, when it comes out of that cocoon, it's this beautiful butterfly and it gets to live this life as this evolved version.
Right.
But that process in the cocoon, like shedding the skin or whatever actually happens, it's not straightforward. It's not easy. And that was the case for me. It was a very emotional process of coming to terms with, okay, I am letting go of this part of my identity now. Everything that I had been taught from when I was a child, that this was the one career that I was going to choose and stick with for the rest of my life, that my worth was dependent on my profession. And by the way, I should mention that, I was getting taught these things because my parents were doing the best that they could with what they knew, and they wanted the best for me. So that's what they taught me.
Right.
But that really took a lot of consciousness and a lot of consistency in shedding those belief systems, shedding those ideas in order to be able to step into the next chapter of my life with full conviction and power.
So this is where the aligned performance comes from, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Spot on.
So as you were transitioning and there are these internal and external forces, just having these growing pains and not sure what the outcome is going to be, I'm curious as to did you experience a sense of burnout as you began to shift, or was it prior, or does that happen to people that you serve?
Both. Like in my journey, I have absolutely hit that stage of burnout. And I would say my highest experience of burnout, like when it was greatest and affected me the most, was just before this whole quarter life crisis started. It actually happened before because I was in a job where my heart, my mind just wasn't fully in it. Because that morning that I stepped on that snail and it got this whole process of evolution started, like that was an outward experience, but it'd been brewing for a while in the lead up.
Okay.
Like it had been brewing. I just hadn't listened or acknowledged the signs. It started very small, like a little soft feeling inside of me that something wasn't quite right. There's a little voice in my head that something needed to change, but it was so subtle that it was easy to just be like, oh yeah, this is normal. Everyone experiences this, everyone has Sunday night blues. Everyone looks forward to the weekend. Everyone
And
it's
Sunday
just part of being an
scaries.
adult. Yeah, Sunday scaries, Sunday blues. Like, it's part of being an adult. This is just what it takes. It's the responsibilities of being an adult. So I justified it until that voice and that feeling continued to grow and get louder and louder.
Mhm.
And then that snail morning, a morning that I stepped on that snail really catalyzed like a truth that I couldn't ignore anymore. So the reason why I'm sharing that is because in the lead up to this whole crisis, I was experiencing that burnout, but I didn't even realize it at the start. Like, I was just exhausted coming home from work. I'd wake up and I'd have to drag myself out of bed to face the day. Like I would like struggle falling asleep at night, like the poorest sleep onset latency and being able to stay asleep. And like
Right.
all these things that like I thought were normal because it happened slowly. And I was like,
Right.
oh, part of being an adult, this is just what it is.
Right.
So that was the peak of my burnout, when I was working in a field that I wasn't fully aligned with. So I
Right.
wasn't just physically working hard, which I was, because I was working my day job and I was also doing a side business on the side. And, that's what it's like when we have this go-getter energy.
Right.
Physical burnout, but it was mental, emotional, spiritual burnout as well, because what I was doing wasn't fully aligned to what my heart called for, but I was grinding through it. I was ignoring what my body was saying. And the body doesn't lie. If we
No.
can't fall asleep at night, if we can't stay asleep, if, we're feeling sick with anxiety in the morning when we wake up to go to work, like
Right.
that is a sign. The body does not lie.
Right.
So those were the components that created this burnout. And then now I've got so much more alignment spiritually, emotionally, mentally in the work that I do. I've refined and dialed in my process so that I work and I think we spoke about this last time, Kimberly. Like I like to work really intensely when I am working, so that I'm productive, I'm focused, I'm in my flow, and then I will switch off completely. Whether it's at nighttime or on the weekends, I'll do nothing at all. So it's kind of that all or nothing. That's how I work. I find that really well, to go hard and then rejuvenate and then recover.
Okay. So rest is a critical strategy for you, and you make it complete rest.
Yes. Yeah, that's my strategy. That's what I found has worked really well, because I personally don't believe that there's such thing as overworking
Mm.
as much as there is under recovery.
Oh.
So it's about the balance and the integration of those two parts. So that if we want to work hard, go for it. This is what I believe, at least. As long as we are recovering at the same level that is required to be able to show up at that level of work intensity.
So, in other words, you're saying if you're a high performing, laser focused, put it all on the floor type of worker, then you've got to be just as passionate about your recovery time. You can't just do that willy nilly and I'll take a spa day here for 15 minutes or something. You need to do it equally, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I teach my clients, because I teach them to go all in. I'm like, go all in on your work, on your business, because if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. It's not necessarily easy. It does take work, and it does take, this effort that most people wouldn't be willing to do. So go all in on your work, but also go all in on your recovery. So if you want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, which is what I did this morning because I've got a big day of mentoring and podcasts, as long as you go to bed at 8 p.m. and you get your sleep. And sure, there's going to be times where, we sprint and we might lack sleep and we might go into a bit of a deficit. But in the big picture, are we creating harmony between the two parts of the equation, the work the output as well as the rest and the recovery.
Harmony. I think that's so challenging for people to know what that is for them individually. So I'm really curious, how do you help your clients find what harmony means for them?
Yeah, great questions, Kimberly. Harmony. Like, as I was saying before, that harmony is what we focus on, not just balance, because balance can be like equal parts to different aspects of our life, but harmony means there is this integration between the different parts of our life. So it all starts with understanding what's important to us, what our values are in particular, and recognizing what is something that we value so that we can direct energy and resources towards those things, and then we can intentionally take away energy or resources into other areas of our life that may not be as important to us. So that way we can have that harmony. So for example, if someone's working in a corporate job, but they're also starting up a side hustle on the side,
Right.
and they're also, in a relationship, or they've got kids, then it's like, okay, there are a lot of different parts here. And it's not just about having harmony. Like, it's not going to be 3 hours of work, 3 hours of side hustle, 3 hours of family. That's not the equal parts of balance, but we've got to have harmony between these areas that are important to you. And maybe right now, because you're so focused on starting up this side hustle and you're really focused on family time, then maybe other things might need to take the back seat.
Okay.
And understanding that so that you can have, all right, like, I'm going to really be present. I'm going to be really focused whilst I'm at work. I'm going to have my 1 or 2 hours of my side hustle after work or before work. But after dinner time, I close my laptop and I'm going to be there with my family.
Right.
And that's the key word, be there, be present. Because when we are present, then there is much more experience of that moment.
Right.
And it could be said that experience of the moment is our entire reality, like being able to experience something through our 5 senses, what we can see, smell, taste, hear, and feel. That is our reality. If we didn't have any of those 5 senses, we wouldn't have a reality.
Right.
So if we can experience the moment and soak it up more, then that creates more of the harmony. And I think of the 2-day weekend, Saturday, Sunday. If we can,
I don't know who came up with that idea. we need to have 4-day weekends.
Oh yes.
3-day work weeks.
Oh yes. I'm all for that. And that ties in with what I'm trying to say. Like, if we can truly experience the moment and we work with utmost productivity, say Monday to Thursday, then we'd probably get 5 days of work done in 4 days. And then we can close the laptop and we can live and play and adventure and relax Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Absolutely.
And then by the time Sunday night comes around, we won't feel like we have been short of a weekend because we've truly relaxed, we've truly played, we've truly socialized. Then we'll be ready to swing back the other way and go back to work. So that presence and soaking up what it is that we are doing improves our ability to swing between the different aspects of our life and have that harmony.
And I think what I also heard you say is that it's not about equality, but it's about equity and attending to the things that need attending to fully and being present and experiencing them when you're there. So
yeah,
you're not
exactly
at work,
that.
FaceTiming, texting someone else, and you're not at home typing on the computer when someone is there vying for your attention.
Yeah. And that helps with preventing burnout.
Right.
Because when we finish work earlier, because we have been working with so much intensity and so much focus, then we get to relax even more. We actually get to have more of both. More
Right.
work productivity, more output, as well as more relaxation and more recovery. It's it's not one or the other. We can have more of both.
Right. And one of the things that I cultivated in my business is that I don't have working hours for people on my team. It's more focused around tasks. And if it takes
Yeah.
you, 2 hours or 20 hours, let's take that time. But I didn't want to create this culture where someone has to lie to me to go to their children's basketball game, or
Mm.
I'm sick because they want to do something with their family. No, take the time to do what you need to do and be here when you're here.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the mindset to have, right? It's not about like checking off like X amount of hours just for the sake of it. It's
Yes.
about, all right, let's get this done. And if it takes us 30 minutes instead of 2 hours, even better. We get to be
Yes.
more productive, and then we get to clock off early, and then we get to do whatever else that we want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to take another commercial break and then we'll come back. Just a moment.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
Welcome back. And that commercial has me thinking about a question for you.
Bring it on.
When you find that your clients get more aligned and they've made this shift, and I'm sure that they're a little nervous, does their income begin to align with their purpose, or do they spend a lot of time in fear and reverting back to who they were?
I love that. I would say, honestly, a little bit of both. At the start, when we first, when my clients, and even on my own journey, when I first pivoted, there is that initial phase of shedding. So metamorphosis, shedding and letting go of the old part of us that was already working well. So
Right.
there is almost like a step back temporarily. There's
Mm,
the fear, there's the uncertainty, there is that being in the gray zone, almost like, no man's land for a short period of time.
right.
But then what happens with a bow, when we pull back the bow, and it gets to launch forwards even more. It gets to launch forwards with momentum. And that's what happens when we create alignment. When our actions, when the work that we do is true to what we believe in, is true to our values, is true to our heart, then something magical happens. And I don't know how to explain it, but you can probably imagine it. There is this newfound energy, vitality, passion. And then that, of course, comes out in the work. And then that, of course, creates a financial situation and a flow of value, because that's how I see like money. It's like an exchange of value. So when we give out more, we actually then receive more as well. And I know it's not always that simple, but that is often what happens.
Right.
Then that comes back, and that starts to move at levels that previously, we didn't expect. But that's simply a delayed reflection of this vitality and this alignments that we are putting out into the world.
I'm sure you've had to do a lot of hand holding to get people to actually reach that point. Because have you had some that said, "Oh, this is too much. I got to go back. I have to do what I was doing because this feels too uncomfortable."
Like, honestly, a lot. because this journey is not linear. Like, it's not like as soon as we take that step, we're good and we're set, and it's only forwards from here. I know for me, so many times after I pivoted my business, I was questioning, did I make the right decision? Like I'm going through a challenging patch. of time. Should I go back? Maybe it's just easier if I forget about this and I go back to what I was doing. I have stability and security in my employed job.
Mm-hmm.
And those thoughts arise all the time. And you know what? I don't know if they ever go away. Like, even when we are seemingly successful and seemingly have made it,
Right.
it is never so straightforward. We're never guaranteed that success. In fact, a lot of the time when individuals or companies achieve peak success, it could be the exact catalyst for their next failure, you know, their next trough, because they get comfortable. They just continue doing things the way they've always done things. They don't innovate anymore. They don't continue showing up with the same level of zest.
Right.
So we're never guaranteed that seat. You know, we're never guaranteed the seat at the summit to stay there.
Right.
So whenever a challenge arises, it's the questioning arises as well. It's like, you know, am I doing the right thing? Maybe it would be easy if I would just go back. But yes, in those initial stages, those thoughts are rife.
Right.
So we've got to stay on top of that.
Right. And so many people say, oh, entrepreneurship is just this roller coaster. But I've always thought of it. I don't know if you've ever been on this ride where you get on the side of the wall and then the floor just drops and you're spinning around and your face is just going back. Like, that's what entrepreneurship feels like. It's like the bottom just dropped out and you're just like, what is happening? What is going on? When can I get my footing again?
That is so true, because like, if we think about it, in school, we're taught very structured methods. Like, you know, we stay within the lines. This is how it is, or this is how it isn't. But entrepreneurship is the opposite. There is no floor. There is no ceiling. Like, there are no walls.
There are no rules, right?
Yes. Exactly. And then we've got to create the floor and the ceiling and the walls. Like, we've got to figure it out as we go along. It's a constant process of, as cliche as it sounds, trial and error.
Right. And I think sometimes when you talked about that failure, that's sometimes when people also get into burnout, that sense of hopelessness. But it's really an opportunity when there is failure, because it's an opportunity to get innovative, to have some ingenuity. And if things stay the same, you cannot grow. Sometimes we have to leave behind that death is a chance for rebirth. That's how I see it. When there is a failure, something new to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so in deep belief that failure, like, it's not even just an opportunity to learn, but it's actually the price of entry to success.
Oh,
like, it is actually the price of entry. And we all want that success. We want to be able to achieve the things. We want to have the accolades, but then we're not willing to pay the price at the door to get to where we want to go. And that price is failure. The learnings that come from that, who we become as a result of that, the resilience that we develop, the thicker skin, the feedback of how not to do things versus how to do things. It's just it's gold. Failure is gold, even though it's wrapped in dirt and mud and it doesn't seem like it's what we want. It doesn't seem very valuable.
Right. But we forget, I believe, that when we were learning to walk, we fell on our faces 1,000 times. For those who are able to walk, we've fallen on our faces. But through that, we learned, oh, don't do that again. Let's try something different. And then we walk upright and we're able to have all these new opportunities. Wow. What are some of the new opportunities and amazing things that you've been able to see, do, and accomplish since you made that pivot?
Oh, so many. like I'm one of those annoyingly like happy, positive people because I just love life and I love everything that is available so much. So for example, I'm an Australian. I was born and raised in Melbourne, but now I'm living in Bali. I'm living in paradise because I've been able to create a business that is location flexible. I'm able to serve my mission and to do what I love from anywhere in the world. And that is, one of the most tangible, obvious things. But really, like what I love the most is the fact that I don't get what I used to get. And that is on Sunday night, I don't get that Sunday night blues or dread anymore.
Wow.
In the morning when I wake up, sure, at 5 a.m. sometimes it's a little bit of an effort to get out of bed, okay, when it's cold, when it's dark. But it's not even nearly the same level of or anxiety or dread that I used to get. And it's so obvious. Like it's a feeling, so I can't really tangibly put it in numbers or anything, but I can remember the feeling I used to have, and now I don't get that feeling anymore. The fulfillment I feel when I go to bed at night, at the end of the week after an impactful, productive week, like the fulfillment I feel in my heart, like these opportunities are essentially what I would call happiness. And I would say most people are seeking happiness, like the pursuit of happiness through any decision and everything that they do day to day. It's pursuing a state of happiness. And that is the biggest reward, that fulfillment, that inner peace, and that joy to live life day to day.
Right. Now, would you say that it's possible for someone who's like, okay, I hear what she's saying, this entrepreneurship thing, it can give me some time freedom, it can give me some autonomy, the ability to make some decisions, but I don't want to leave my job. I have a good job. I love my job. So can I have an aligned performance, an aligned purpose, and still retain my 9 to 5?
I love that we're talking about this because, yes, I would say so. Like, not everyone has to be doing entrepreneurship. In fact, the world wouldn't really be able to operate if everyone was in entrepreneurship. I believe that, everyone's purpose, everyone's passion is unique to them. So for some people, it is having that freedom, having that flexibility, having no boss except for themselves. And that will look like entrepreneurship, bringing their own idea out into the world. But for others, it could be serving a greater mission within a company. It could be like that they are in a 9 to 5, are in a corporate job, and they love what they do. They are passionate about their vehicle of service through their role. And I do believe that exists. And it isn't that you have to always quit your job. But if you are currently dissatisfied and you are dreaming of a different reality, you look at these people out there and you're like, oh, I'd love to do that. That looks incredible.
Right.
But then you're justifying to yourself why you can't because of this or because of that. Then that is when you do need to face your own truth. And you need to be accountable to yourself to say, you know what? I'm just making excuses at this point. I do need to take some action. It doesn't need to be like, you quit your job and you have nothing to go off. Like you can start something whilst you're still in your job so that you're not left hanging without being able to put food on the table. I don't believe it has to be so black and white like that. It doesn't have to be so sudden, that transition. But yeah, it depends on what your truth is. And only you will know that. You know your own truth.
So when they do decide to remain in that role and they find themselves being asked to do things that maybe aren't aligned with their values or their purpose, how would you suggest they begin to communicate in a way that gets them back in alignment, even with these external pressures to be unaligned? I don't know if you've ever come across that.
Yeah, I do see that happening, especially when people are employed, they're working for someone else in a big company, and they don't get to express their voice as freely and as unfiltered as they might like. I'd say the first step, going back to something that I mentioned earlier, is being aware of what your values are. Because sometimes what can happen is that, someone's asked to do something or to say something, and it doesn't feel good. They can't quite pick up why it doesn't feel good, but it just doesn't feel good. They find they're dragging their feet a little bit more. They're finding they're resenting their boss a little bit. So firstly, identify what part of this is out of alignment to your values and to your beliefs. So be aware of that first. And then when we're aware of that, when we can actually language, okay, this is not feeling good because this is out of alignment of my integrity, of my beliefs, of equality or whatever it might be, then it gives us the confidence and the conviction to voice that. We can bring that to a conversation with our boss or our manager, and we can actually explain our position with more conviction because we're able to language it. We know what it is that we're saying. So I think it starts with awareness, and from that awareness comes that conviction to have those conversations if it is something that is out of alignment and if it's something that we want to work through. Otherwise, it's also up to us to take our own accountability to maybe remove ourselves from a situation that's out of alignment, to change the situation. But it depends on each person's scenario. It's going to be different for everyone.
I love that. So you can be aligned for your soul and your purpose in your role in a company, or you can create a new reality outside the company, and they don't have to take a leap. I think that's one of the things that scares so many people when you talk about whether it's becoming a new leader or changing things in their life. They feel like, oh, I've just got to throw everything out and start over right away. And you're saying, no, it's not the case.
We don't have to. I used to preach that, actually. I used to advocate, you know what? You either go all in or you're out. Go hard or go home. Quit your job. And if you're serious, then you would. Yes, right? And that's what a lot of coaches still do advocate today. But also, reality is complex. There are many different factors that come into play. And I don't think it has to be so all or nothing, because I didn't do it that way. Actually, I went through this quarter life crisis, and then I started building and expressing myself more authentically, and I started to pivot my business, and then gradually I let go of the physiotherapy. I didn't quit overnight. I gradually let go until one day I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm closing that door. And that gave me the space to take my time a little bit more, to feel more abundant, to feel more safe and secure. And I think not having that pressure and having some more space and time to play with is actually a very helpful ingredient in creating success. Because if we're coming at this pursuit with an energy of desperation, of fear, of scarcity, and that is potentially going to be the thing that creates our downfall. So I think, the spaciousness, the abundance, the security, that is actually an important ingredient as well.
Right. Let us come take another commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy.
And I'm Minna.
We're the hosts of Chronically Healthy Life.
Join us Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time on Vitality TV to see how we flip the idea of chronic on its head and create chronic health in our bodies, minds, finances, and relationships right here on E360 TV.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back, everyone. Now, you've shared so many valuable nuggets and really helping people to tap into. I think of the theme that I really hear is needing to check in to who you are first to base those decisions and kind of shut out all the external and internal noise. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's turned out to be like that, and that is the theme. Yes.
Right. So now, I know we said earlier that your parents were initially a little afraid. Did they take their mourning process, or how soon did you let them know that you were shifting?
That's a good point. I probably made it easier for them because I didn't tell them until a little bit later down the track, you know? And by then I could give them some evidence, like just a few paychecks and being like, this is actually working out, you know, you don't have to worry. I got this. I got it sorted. And when they saw that I was happy, when they saw that I was actually doing all right, in fact, even better than previously, because, you know, alignments create some pretty magical results.
Right.
Then they were like, okay, look, I still don't get what you do. Still can't explain it to my friends when they ask, but I support you.
I love it. I think we might be sisters from another mister because I absolutely do not share. I hold things close until you see the results. Like I think that for me there's I'm a little nervous about the shift and I don't want to add anyone else's doubt to my process. So I need to do it. I tend to do things afraid. And then when it begins to feel okay, it's like, yeah, here's this thing. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. And you know what? Like sometimes that works even better. I mean, everyone's different, but like by not like talking about it, we can utilize that energy and direct it towards walking the walk, right? We can do it, and then we can use that like result. It's almost like a dangling carrot as the motivation.
Right. Now, tell us a little bit about your podcast as we begin to come to a close, because I don't think I've mentioned it at the beginning, but I don't think everyone knows exactly what your podcast is about and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. My podcast is called the Aligned Performance Podcast. And on there, I share different stories, experiences, information. I have guest conversations so that you can create your most aligned life of purpose and potential. And that can be through pivoting careers, starting a business, developing personal mastery in high performance habits. It can be in mindset, developing deep rooted self-belief and confidence, like, all the different aspects that allow you to thrive by expressing your purpose and your potential. So that is my podcast.
Wonderful. So would you say, you mentioned earlier, and I'm curious, would you say that if someone was wondering like, well, where do I start? I know that something is really, things aren't sitting right with me. And I heard you earlier say, figure out your values and to turn inward. Is there any other advice you would share with someone to really begin to discover what alignment means for them?
Yes, I do want to also mention another part of this equation. So yes, turn inwards, look at what's important to you, look at where you want to end up, towards the end of your life. But that can also be a form of procrastination as well.
Ooh, you have me intrigued.
Yeah. So yes, important processes, but imagine someone who knows that they need to pivot careers. They know they want to start this business idea that they've had in the back of their mind for a decade, but they spend a whole year just planning, reflecting, looking at what's important to them,
Building a
defining their
website.
values. Yeah, exactly. All those things. And then a year passes, and then 2 years pass, and then 3 years pass. But the inner work is so important, and it is the first step, but it can also be an excuse and an active procrastination, because ultimately what needs to happen is we need to take action. We need to take the first step, and only in taking action and taking the first step and putting ourselves out there and figuring out what works and what doesn't and learning more about ourselves along the way will we also figure out our own alignments and where we want to go next. So it's actually it's actually harmony of those two as well, the inner work and action.
Inner work and action. That is a beautiful summary, because I've absolutely seen people do that. Processing, being in therapy for years before making a change, getting coach after coach, but having blocks, taking career
block.
courses. What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's like, oh, I've healed this wound, I've healed this block, but then I've got another one, and I need to heal that one, and then
look, I got a brand new shiny one.
And that will never end, because we're never going to be perfect, because we're human beings.
No, we're constantly evolving, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be the same person I was 10 years ago or 2 years ago. We are constantly changing and growing. Absolutely. I'm so happy to have had you here today. You've offered some wonderful insights. I loved hearing about your journey and your story. Are there any last parting words you'd like to share?
I'll just say this. Remember that we have this one life. So why wouldn't we do everything in our power to express our best and leave the world a better place than how we found it, or how we were born onto it?
Thank you. That is beautiful. Until next time. This concludes our show. This is Leadership Beyond Burnout, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, and our guest, TRANG NOVA. Tune in next Thursday at 5 p.m. We'll see you then.